Hi folks, Lee here, welcome to Ninja Guitar. What I'm going to show you today is just a couple of ways of maybe expanding on your pentatonic first box. So if you don't know what a minor pentatonic box looks like, if I play you in E minor pentatonic, you have 12-15 on the thickest string, 12-14 on the A, the D, the G, and then 12-15 on the B string, and then 12-15 on the E string. Okay, it's a scale that most people start with, and then they can add little bits and pieces to it. But a lot of people are under the misconception that once you've got that box, you're kind of stuck with it, and you have to play it in a certain strict fashion. And that's not really the case, and you can be very, very creative with it. So before you kind of try to explore other box shapes for that, or maybe even other scales, be sure to have tried a few other phrasing ideas out around it, and I'll try and give you some examples today. So one way to make your solos a little bit more interesting and make it more interesting for yourself when you're composing music or playing along to stuff is to actually use string skips. So you could skip between maybe the G and the E string using the same pattern that's already there as part of the scale, and then up and down from that. So you could have, and you could alternate pick that, you could hammer it on, you could use your left hand just to play hammers. You could consider, using slides in between them, that kind of thing. And then you could apply that to the rest of the strings and the rest of the scale. So we could go down to maybe 12-14 on the D string, and then 15-12 on the B string. So you could apply that across, the entire scale if you wanted to. And again, we don't have to have slid it. We could have alternate picked that. When I'm soloing, I'll be employing lots of different phrasing tactics. So, bending between the different notes of the scale as well, as opposed to just playing them straight. You could have. That kind of thing. So phrasing is really important, and I'll probably talk a little bit more about that on another video sometime. But another thing you can do is to slightly expand on the box you've got already. So in the case of E minor pentatonic, if we were to take 12-15, which is the first two notes, and then go to 17 on the same string, so 12-15, 17, then do, carry that on across the string, so 12-14, 17. And in fact, we're just going to add 17 to everything. So adding that extra note at the 17th fret for each string gives us one extra tonality that we wouldn't normally have within minor pentatonic. When you get down between the G and the B string, we're adding in that 6. If you don't want that in, you can just, instead of playing 17 on the G string, you play 16. And you're sticking really strictly to the minor pentatonic scale. So it sounds a little bit more like this. Okay, so, if you want to keep to that, that's fine. To make it easier to finger, just keeps things a little bit simpler for you, and I think actually adding in the 6 makes it more interesting too. So give that a try, and so you could incorporate some of the phrasing ideas now into that pattern that you've got, and you can get some very weird and wonderful kind of little patterns going. Because we've got sort of 3 notes per string now, you can employ a different picking pattern maybe, so you could do something like this. obviously the ideas that we were looking at around pentatonic about extending out by a note and looking at different phrasing ideas, looking at string skipping, these can be employed across any scale you like. And I've used these ideas across, you know, the major scale and its modes and harmonic minor and melodic minor, and just to come up with new melodies. So all of a sudden this kind of really basic starter scale, if you like, is starting to get a bit more interesting, and you can do a lot with it. So I think what I'm saying is, you know, just because you know one box and one scale does not mean to say that you're kind of stuck there or your solos should be boring. I think you need to explore as much as you can out of one particular position before moving on. You know, and then start to add in extra notes chromatically somewhere in between the notes that are already there in your pentatonic scale. And if you do that, you end up with the blues scale. If you add in so, you know, that's starting to change the sound of it. You could chromatically go between all of the notes. You know, and again, you're giving it kind of like a jazz flavour or a blues flavour, or, you know, your phrasing might make it funky. It's, you know, it's completely up to you. And of course you could tap these notes as well if you wanted to. So we've got your standard shape. You know, use your fretting hand to play those notes, and then tap out the ones at 17. Then you could then incorporate the string skipping you were doing before, like, and then adding the tap as well. And again, you can move this around. We were playing that in E, weren't we? So if we move the whole pattern to A minor pentatonic, which you all know the shape for, the same applies there. So you can stretch that out if you wanted to, and then you've got those notes to play with. But obviously you've got your octave as well, so you could literally tap out those notes at the same time down here if you wanted to, and then with the extensions as well. So, you know, you're not limited. Playing that pentatonic, one box pentatonic, does not limit you in any way, shape or form. And I think by starting to explore your phrasing in that way, you become more adventurous in your playing, and then your improvising gets, you know, better and more fluid and more interesting for you. So I hope that's been useful. We've only scratched the surface of what you can do really phrasing wise, just a couple of ideas to give you, you know, a starter for 10. Have a go at it, take your time and try to enjoy it, and I'll see you around. Take care.